Sam spoke with a lot of passion. And I love it. Whatever we do must be done in the fullness of our being. Right? So I greatly appreciate what you have said today. You got the right spirit, and in fact, this gives me a lot of happiness because it's the convincing proof that all of you are listening intently to what is being said and you're understanding and assimilating it. I think it's a great encouragement. And I'm also glad that you're using the opportunity to come and share your thoughts, imparting in the process something of your own individual self, the way you think, your own insights. And I also appreciate the fact that you have the gift of brevity. You don't beat about the bush. It's a very good thing. In all aspects, I believe, the three presentations we have had so far are truly commendable. And I'm sure many more such presentations are in the offing. Well, I'll just pick up one word from what Sam said and give a little explanation before I resume the threads of yesterday's thoughts. He said that we are not just the skin and the bones, we are also a living spirit. I'm virtually quoting him verbatim. Now, very often people think of the spirit only in religious terms. That's the reason why people refuse to take it seriously. Today, I want to give you, very briefly, for want of time, a non-religious understanding of the concept of spirit. Now, to do that, let me use an illustration which I've just very quickly thought of. All of us handle water. We drink water, we have baths in water, and some of us even wash our clothes in water, though it is not as frequently done as is required. When I was a student here, it was fashionable to wear dirty clothes, because that's how you announced your intellectual acumen. But all of you look actually much more clean, nattier than we did in our times. So thank you very much. But I do see some people roaming around in their shorts. College is not a beach. Okay? Please come properly dressed. I know this will be the next controversy. Somebody will rush to the media and say that the principal of St. Stephen's College is a Taliban. Whatever. So now coming to this illustration of water. One molecule of water is two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of oxygen, right? H2O. Okay? Now hydrogen and oxygen have very different properties from water. But when they come together under certain conditions, they become a new entity. And the qualities that water has are substantially, miraculously different. The effect of water, the usefulness of water, the relationship of water to human beings, these are all radically different from the relationship of the constituent elements like hydrogen and oxygen. Now, this is a mysterious thing. So, that new thing which happens or comes about because two different things have come together and experienced their fullness. As long as hydrogen remains hydrogen and oxygen remains oxygen, neither hydrogen nor oxygen, with reference to human beings, or in particular the thirst of human beings, neither hydrogen nor oxygen can experience its fullness. Right? But when they come together in the fullness of their unity and new being, something wonderfully valuable comes into being. That is the spirit. Now, human beings are made up of just not 2 parts, but perhaps 1 billion parts. All kinds of things. And the sum total of all that can cease to exist if all these constituent parts are working at loggerheads with each other. In other words, if there is no coordination. For example, we have limbs. If our limbs cannot be coordinated, they become a hindrance. They become crippled. Now, for example, if you've seen Parkinson's disease, the problem is that they cannot coordinate. Victims of Parkinson's disease lose their coordinating power because the brain is affected. So, the spirit is the new potency that comes into your being when all aspects and dimensions of your existence come into perfect union. Now, this cannot be understood theoretically from a state of being disunited and scattered in your being. That's why people say that there is no spirit. For them, there is no spirit. But the moment you reach that level of integration of all aspects of your being, you become a miracle. It's an incredible thing. The power of such a person is simply indescribable. Okay? Now you should keep this in mind and move in that direction. It's possible for us to attain that state. Alright, now let me come back to the thought that I just introduced yesterday, and for want of time, I have to discontinue. I quoted King Lear, remember? And I introduced a theme. What was it? One of the things we should pray for. What is it? That's right. King Lear prays for patience. Give me patience. Patience is all I need. Right? Now, has it ever occurred to you that as students, you need a lot of patience? You need to cultivate patience. You need to perfect patience. Again, in our Indian philosophical thinking, a great deal of value is attached to a quality called Kshama. I would request Dr. A.P. Mathur one day to give a talk on Kshama. Patience. Patience is a great strength. If you don't have patience, you will reach nowhere. For example, you may work for a period of time. Suppose you are a scientist and you are doing some experiment. You have a hypothesis, and based on that hypothesis, you design experiments. You go on experimenting, but you don't get the result that you should have got according to the theory of it. Alright? You did one experiment, 2, 3, 10, 20, 30, 50, then you would feel like leaving it. But 50, you may have reached the tipping point. Maybe the 51st will give you the correct result. Right? Said about Thomas Alva Edison that he worked for 1,000 hours before successfully designing an electric bulb. Right? Tried again and again and again. There is no shortcut to greatness. Life is designed, nature is designed, the whole of the created order is designed in such a way that there are hindrances and difficulties. You know why? Without these increasing order of difficulties, there is no achievement. Suppose you can produce a novel simply by sleeping, at which all of us are experts. Will a novel have any worth? Suppose you can solve the problem of cancer simply by eating minced cutlet in the cafe. Will that be an excitement? Suppose you get yourself parachuted on Mount Everest. Will you be acclaimed? No. The greatness of your achievement is directly proportionate to the degree of difficulties you had to cope with and overcome in the process of reaching there. Right? Now, a quick word about why these difficulties are strategically embedded in the path of our life journey. Difficulties are always meant to facilitate our growth. That is why in education, for example, you are subjected to a graded program of difficulties. The intellectual difficulties that you faced in class 5 are nothing compared to the difficulties that you faced in class 12, and they would be nothing compared to the difficulties that henceforth you will face. And when you do this, you must rejoice, because this is precisely the logic of your growth. But you will not rejoice unless you have patience. If you don't cultivate patience, at the slightest contact with any difficulty, you will throw a tantrum, and that's the end of your growth. Okay? Now, it is important for us to cultivate patience. Okay? You agree? And patience can be cultivated. There are some people who say, and many have told me as a matter of fact, so my problem is that I have a short temper. I am on a short fuse all the time. And then I asked them, I still remember a young man who came to me saying, please help, I'm extremely short-tempered. And I asked him a question. I said, who are you short-tempered with? Back came the answer, I'm short-tempered with my wife, my children, and my junior colleagues. I said, how about being short-tempered with your boss? He said, I lose my job. I said, how about being short-tempered with the police commissioner? He said, I lose my teeth. So you can control your temper. You are making a virtue of being short-tempered because you are foolish. Please remember that it's patience and patience alone that will help you cross that hurdle which takes you to the finishing line of glory. And it's such an important quality to cultivate. Okay? So this is the fourth thing that we should pray for. What is it? Patience. Now the fifth thing we could ask for, the fifth and the sixth I have borrowed from Bertrand Russell, from his book titled Political Ideals, right? Bertrand Russell says that one of the most fundamental things that every human being needs, and I would want to emphasize particularly students, and even more particularly teachers, is the gift of creativity. Last year, when I was, no, not last, this year, April, when I was bidding farewell to the outgoing students in my address, I told them this very thing. The problem with our life today is everybody is driven, and this is exactly what Bertrand Russell is saying, this is not my insight. Everybody, says Bertrand Russell, is driven by the spirit of acquisitiveness. What is the spirit of acquisitiveness? I must get and get and get. Grab as much as you can. Get more than anybody else. And one expression of this is corruption. You cannot manage, you cannot control corruption as long as a society, you do not get out of this acquisitive spirit. You cannot embrace the accusative spirit as your corporate or collective virtue and denounce corruption at the same time. If this is the orientation of your society, your culture heroes must be the most corrupt. We must applaud them, we must give them Bharat Ratnas, because the foremost passion that we have is acquisitiveness. For example, when you were in schools, you studied well for what? To get more marks, right? Am I right? Why get more marks? Get into such different college and then get into good jobs, get maximum money and have a good time. And some of the people who have such good times commit suicide also. It's all acquisitive. I must grab, I must hoard, I must have everything for myself. The black money that is hoarded in foreign banks is computed at a modest level of 90 lakh crores. You know what an amount it is? 90 lakh crores. How does that happen? What is the logic? It is the triumph of the acquisitive spirit. Bertrand Russell says that you cannot fight the acquisitive spirit, you can only substitute it with the creative interest. Because creativity gives us extreme happiness. And it's true. A person who has experienced the bliss of creativity will feel utterly embarrassed, totally put off at the prospect of corrupting himself with 5 rupees or 5 billion rupees. The quantity doesn't matter. Even 1 rupee is enough to corrupt your soul if that is not earned with the sweat of your brow. But that will be understood only by a person who has a creative orientation. For those who are acquisitive, it is foolishness. You have the opportunity to make millions, why are you not doing it? You are naive, you are stupid. Many people have told me. I was in a commission, National Commission for Minority Education Institution, when the entire thousands and thousands of education institutions were under my jurisdiction. And that was a place with infinite potential for corruption. People are willing to offer anything. And some of the experiences I've had of people in the course of my travel, I cannot mention. Perhaps I'll write about these in my autobiography in the course of time. But one thing was very clear to me all the time. There is no wealth greater than the wealth of creativity. If you are creative, you are free. The secret of freedom is creativity. You put a creative person in the prison, even from the prison he will produce a masterpiece. You put an acquisitive person in the seat of power, he will foul, dirty the seat. He will leave a sting behind. It doesn't matter which government it is. What matters is the orientation. And this is my greatest concern for our country and our society, that unthinkingly, we have all accepted the rat race as our national game. And we do not know the great danger to which we are rushing headlong. At the end of this great race, this desperate race, everyone will be defeated. Life will be ruined. And by the time you realize it, it will be too late. That's the reason why I need to say this to you in advance with all the force that I can muster. Let this not happen to you. Construct your life on the principle of meeting needs, Reject the accusative spirit and the culture that goes with it. Believe in and build your creativity. You are a king. A creative person is a king. You don't need a chair. You don't need an emblem. You don't need beacon lights. There are only a few individuals who are kings in the world. Those are the creative people. Leo Tolstoy was widely considered the real Tsar of Russia. Tsar is the name of the king of Russia. There was a political Tsar, but when Leo Tolstoy was alive, everybody in Russia said the real Tsar of Russia is Leo Tolstoy. And Leo Tolstoy used to criticize the government in the most acute terms, but the Tsar did not have the guts to touch him. Several times people proposed to the Tsar to arrest Leo Tolstoy. The Tsar did not have the guts to touch him. Alright? So remember that there is this other dimension of life, a dimension where you are creative. And creativity is a gift given to every human being. And what this creativity is, perhaps I'll try and explain to you tomorrow, just as we go on to other things. Maybe rise for prayer. Today